What if every wrong turn in your life wasn't bad luck, but bad decision-making? Most men don't fail from lack of effort. They fail because their choices are ruled by emotion, not principle. They react. They compromise. They chase what feels good now and lose who they could have become. But here's the truth. Life doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards clarity. It rewards consistency. It rewards those who live by a code. Stoicism teaches this clearly. The key to making wise decisions is living by principles over preferences. Not by mood, not by impulse, but by fixed values that don't change just because the world around you does. If your life feels scattered, uncertain, or out of control, it's not your circumstances. It's the absence of a center line. And Stoics believed that once you set your principle, your path clears. In this video, we're going deep into the Stoic decision-making mindset, how to develop emotional discipline, how to make smart choices under pressure, and how to rebuild your self-trust through small daily acts of clarity. You're not the only one struggling. Every man wrestles with inconsistency and regret. But not every man chooses to rise above it. If you're ready to stop drifting and start thinking like a Stoic, you're in the right place. Stick with me. Your code starts now. Like this video if you're ready to master your mind. Subscribe for more Stoic motivation built for men like you. 1. Principles over preferences. The code or the chaos. You want to make better choices? Then stop choosing based on how you feel. A man who decides with emotion will always serve something weaker than himself, his fear, his comfort, or someone else's approval. That's not leadership, that's survival, and it leaves you drifting. Most men don't realize they're making decisions by preference until it's too late. They say yes because they're afraid of being judged. They stay silent because conflict makes them sweat. They delay action because they don't feel ready. But feelings are weather. They change every hour. And if your life is built on feelings, don't be surprised when it collapses with the next storm. Stoicism calls for something different, a life ruled by principle. Not shifting moods, not public opinion, but a steady internal law, a personal code. When Marcus Aurelius woke each day, he didn't ask, "What do I feel like doing?" He asked, "What is the right thing to do regardless of how I feel?" That's what separates the man who reacts from the man who leads. Imagine walking a mountain trail in a blizzard. Visibility is gone, wind in your face. If you don't have a compass, you'll follow whatever looks easiest and end up lost. That's how most people live. But principle is the compass. It doesn't change. It doesn't care how tired you are. It simply shows the way, if you're disciplined enough to look at it. Men today are drowning in options, career changes, relationship choices, money traps. And the voice in your head keeps asking, "What should I do?" But that's the wrong question. The real question is, what have I already decided I will never compromise? If you haven't answered that yet, then you're not making decisions. You're gambling. Preference says, "I'll do what feels good now." Principle says, "I'll do what builds who I want to become." One man lies to keep his job. The other loses the job, but keeps his integrity. One man cheats because the opportunity showed up. The other walks away without hesitation. One is driven by circumstance, the other by internal clarity. Stop convincing yourself that preferences make life flexible. They make it chaotic. Without a code, every day becomes a negotiation. With a code, every day becomes a clear execution of values. You don't need more information. You don't need another opinion. You need a line you refuse to cross, no matter who's watching. So here's your challenge. Pick one principle this week and follow it like a soldier under orders. Not when it's easy, especially when it's not. Make it your center line. When you're tempted, when you're tested, when you're tired, go back to that code. Let it cut through the fog. Because in the end, the world doesn't reward men who chase feelings. It respects men who walk with clarity. 2. Emotion clouds. Judgment. Master the pause. Regain power. A man who can't control his emotions can't control his decisions. And a man who can't control his decisions can't control his life. You don't need proof of this, just look around. Look at men who say things they regret, who lash out, shut down, walk away, give in. All because they let the heat of a moment make choices that burn through years of progress. That's not strength. That's surrender, wearing a mask. You were not built to obey every feeling. Anger, fear, pride, lust, shame, these are instincts, not instructions. They rise fast, they speak loud, and they always demand action now. That's the trap. The man who reacts instantly becomes a slave to his state. But the man who pauses, who lets the storm pass before he moves, becomes dangerous in the best way. Because he's grounded. Because he doesn't swing just to swing. Stoics trained for this. They knew emotion isn't evil. It's just noise. The problem starts when you confuse noise with signal. Epictetus said it straight. It's not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Which means the power isn't out there, it's in your response. That gap between what happens and how you react, that's your battlefield. And most men lose there, not in the external fight, but in the 2 seconds where they let emotion push the trigger before reason could aim. Picture holding a loaded weapon with sweaty hands. You flinch, it fires. That's what decision-making looks like under rage or fear. Now imagine the same weapon, same weight, but your grip is steady. You don't fire until it's deliberate. That's restraint, that's precision, that's stoic self-control. But today men are told to express everything, to act on every impulse, to vent as a form of healing. That's not healing, that's hemorrhaging. You're bleeding control while convincing yourself it's freedom. Freedom isn't doing what you feel. It's doing what's right even when you feel something else. This is why Stoics trained not just their actions, but their delay. They built emotional discipline the way warriors train for battle, through drills, through awareness, through repetition. They created space between stimulus and action. And in that space, they planted reason. Next time you feel the surge, tight chest, clenched jaw, burning stomach, don't move, don't text, don't speak. Breathe through your nose, let 5 seconds pass. In that stillness, ask one question. What would my principle do, not my pride? Then act, not from the surge, but from the structure. Because every time you obey emotion, it gets stronger. Every time you hold the line, you become stronger. You're not avoiding emotion, you're commanding it. You're turning instinct into tool, not master. In a world that rewards outrage, silence becomes a weapon. And in moments where others explode, your pause will echo louder than their noise. That's control. That's strength. That's the man who makes wise decisions, because he doesn't let emotion touch the steering wheel. 3. Decide once, execute daily. End the war in your head. You don't lose control all at once. You lose it in negotiations, silent, subtle, repeated. One compromise today, another excuse tomorrow. You wake up a decade later and realize you've become someone you never intended to be. Not because you didn't try, but because you decided too often. A man without fixed principles has to make the same decision every day. That's how fatigue sets in. That's how discipline dies. There's a reason soldiers train to act without hesitation. In chaos, thinking isn't power, clarity is. When your values are carved into you like stone, you don't have to ask what to do. You already know. You don't waste energy bargaining with weakness. You don't argue with temptation. You walk the path you already swore you'd take. That's not rigidity, it's command. Most men live like diplomats in their own minds. They argue with their standards. They reframe the lines. They adjust the terms depending on who's in the room or how they feel that morning. But feelings are slippery. Opinions shift. Social pressure bends. And if your decisions are tied to any of those, you've already handed over your power. Stoicism cuts through this noise. Epictetus didn't teach endless deliberation, he taught devotion to principle. Choose your values, fix them like nails in the ground, then anchor your behavior to them, no matter the weather. One internal decision can remove 1,000 external doubts. Imagine driving a car that veers left every time the road gets rough. Now imagine locking the wheel toward your destination and staying the course. Even when it shakes, even when it pulls. That's what living by unshakable principle looks like. The road doesn't have to be smooth, your steering does. Stop asking if today is the right day to be disciplined. Stop asking if this person deserves your honesty. Stop asking if now is a good time to take the hard path. You already answered those questions if you're a man of principle. That's why the Stoic doesn't wake up confused. His direction is already chosen, his rules are already clear. And every action is either in alignment or it's not. There's no drama in that, no inner debate, just execution. Here's what weakens modern men: inconsistency. They want focus but serve distraction. They want purpose but obey emotion. They want confidence but betray their own word. But a man who decides once, truly, clearly, and finally earns back everything: clarity, trust, identity. because he no longer doubts the path, he simply walks it. So choose one code today, just one. Say it out loud. Then repeat it tomorrow and again the next day. Write it on your wall if you have to. Let it become your inner command, louder than fear, clearer than temptation. You don't need 10 commandments, just one you never break. That's how you stop the war in your head. You don't fight every battle. You win once, with a decision you never undo. 4. Every decision builds identity. Brick by brick, you become you. Don't become the man you admire in one leap. You become him in pieces. Quietly, repeatedly, through decisions no one sees, through what you choose when no one's watching, the way you respond when it's easier to fold, the words you say or don't say when emotion flares. Identity isn't found, it's constructed, and each choice you make is another brick in the walls of who you're becoming. The problem is most men treat their decisions like they don't matter. They justify the small lie, the lazy morning, the silent approval of something they know is wrong. It's just one time, they tell themselves. It's harmless. But bricks don't care about intention. They stack regardless. And if you build with weak ones long enough, you'll wake up surrounded by a life that feels foreign and a self you can't respect. The Stoics didn't believe in neutral moments. They understood that every action trains the soul. You are either reinforcing discipline or undermining it, strengthening your integrity or wearing it thin. Each day, you're either moving closer to the man you claim to be or drifting into someone easier, softer, more fragile. Marcus Aurelius put it sharply, you become what you give your attention to. And attention is not just thought, it's action. If you constantly choose ease over effort, silence over truth, distraction over purpose, then you're not becoming who you want to be. You're becoming what you tolerate. Think of it like forging steel. The fire isn't the problem. The fire is the test. You either harden through it or melt. When you make the right decision in a hard moment, you don't just succeed, you change. You walk away heavier, sharper, more durable. But when you compromise, even in silence, something chips off. Not just your reputation, but your center. That's why Stoicism is brutal, but clean. It doesn't excuse you. It doesn't coddle your feelings. It calls you out. Are you building or eroding? Are you sharpening or dulling? And here's the reality. Identity is cumulative. It doesn't form in crisis, it reveals in crisis. When pressure hits, you fall back on the man you've built in the dark, the man you've sculpted through the invisible decisions. That's why the next small choice matters more than you think. So here's the move. Stop asking if this decision is important. Ask instead, if I repeated this choice every day, who would I become? That question burns through the nonsense. That question exposes everything. You don't need grand gestures. You need to show up when it's cold, speak truth when it's quiet, and hold the line when no one claps. Do it once, then again, then again. That's how you become unshakable. Not through a moment of glory, but through 1,000 small wins no one will ever applaud. Except you, quietly, because you'll know you're becoming real. 5. Let go of outcome. Choose what's right, not what pays off. A man obsessed with results is a man owned by them. That's why he's always tense, always rushing, always shifting. He can't stay grounded, because his peace is tied to a future he can't control. He wants certainty in an uncertain world, but Stoicism offers no comfort in that. It offers clarity. It tells you this: do what's right, let go of the rest. Most men don't make bad decisions out of ignorance. They make them out of fear. Fear that if they choose integrity, they'll lose respect. Fear that if they walk away, they'll miss out. Fear that if they say no, someone else will say yes. But that's not decision-making. That's gambling with your soul. The Stoic doesn't bet on outcomes. He builds his life on one truth: the right action is enough. The modern world trains you to chase applause. You post your wins, you hide your losses, you measure yourself by likes, promotions, validation. But outcomes are fragile. They don't belong to you. You can make the right move and still lose the deal. You can tell the truth and still get left behind. But a Stoic doesn't ask, will this work out? He asks, is this right, even if it doesn't? Imagine planting a seed and standing over it, demanding it grow by sunset. That's how most people live. Desperate, impatient, angry when effort doesn't pay instantly. But Stoics plant anyway, water anyway, walk away anyway. Because the act itself is the victory, not the fruit, but the motion. That's where peace is found, not in control, but but in mastery of the uncontrollable. This mindset isn't soft, it's savage in discipline, because it means you have to stop blaming. You have to stop needing proof before acting with honor. You have to stop attaching your identity to things outside your reach. That takes power, real power, the kind that builds legacy, not noise. And this is the shift. Once you let go of outcomes, your decisions become cleaner. You're no longer persuading yourself, you're commanding yourself. You don't wonder if they'll respect you, you respect you. You don't wait for the wind to feel strong, you're strong in the moment you choose truth. That's how you reclaim emotional discipline in a world built on emotional chaos. So here's the challenge. Today, do one right thing with zero concern for how it looks or pays off. Hold the door for someone who won't thank you. Speak truth that may not be liked. Decline an easy option and take the quiet, harder one. Then walk away. Not smug, not bitter, just steady. Like a man who knows that doing right is the reward. You don't need the outcome to prove the value of your choice. The value was in the choosing. The power is in the detachment. The Stoic doesn't act to be praised. He acts because it aligns with his code. And the man who lives by that code becomes untouchable, because nothing outside him can dictate the man within. The decisions you make each day are more than reactions. They're statements of who you are and who you're becoming. You've heard 5 keys grounded in Stoic wisdom. Build your life on principles, not passing feelings. Slow down when emotions rise. Decide once and stop renegotiating your values. Understand that each choice sculpts your identity. And finally, detach from the outcome, because clarity, not control, is the goal. If these truths felt heavy, that's because they are. But they're not unreachable. Every man has the ability to strengthen his inner discipline. Every man has the power to stop drifting and start directing. The Stoic path doesn't require perfection. It demands consistency. Each moment you resist a weak impulse and choose your code instead, you win, quietly, permanently. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Just start with one act of inner control each day. Maybe it's pausing before you speak. Maybe it's holding a boundary without guilt. Maybe it's staying true to your word when no one else will know the difference. These are the building blocks of unshakable character. So ask yourself now, which part of today's message will you practice? Which decision will you elevate from automatic to intentional? Because nothing changes until you apply. Insight without action is noise, but practiced, repeated, and lived, it becomes strength. If you've ever struggled to stay consistent, to stay calm, to stay true, this is your invitation. Start small. Start now. Share your own journey in the comments below. Tell us what principle you're choosing to live by today, because every time you act from discipline, you move closer to becoming the man you were meant to be. Calm, focused, and free from chaos.